Welcome to the Flywheel Economics podcast. Flywheel Economics is a concept that proposes true, sustainable economic growth by viewing economies as ecosystems. I'm your host, Richard O.
And I'm your co-host, Favor Ogbadu. Together, let's explore a more sustainable and powerful way to view innovation, investment, and economic policymaking.
Today, we want to take a look back at some of the episodes we covered in 2024 when we started the Flywheel Economics podcast, but also have a bit of a look forward to what our listeners can look forward to in 2025 as well. So it's a good opportunity for you and I, Favor, to take a bit of stock on some of the lessons that have come out from the different podcasts we've listened to, some of our highlights, and share some of the thoughts we have for the ideas for 2025.
Amazing. And I'm going to start with Happy New Year. I know we're no more than halfway into January, but I stand by the rule that says you can say Happy New Year to 31st. So Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. All our great listeners, we're really excited about 2025 and the content and just the whole learning experience, the journey that is going to be for both us as hosts and for you as listeners. But just as Richard said, before we dive into the future, we think it's proper to take just a brief look back into the topics we have covered so far.
Tell me the truth, Favor. Have you said Happy New Year to somebody in February?
I don't think so. But I think it still stands. If you are seeing somebody for the first time in a new year, it's still appropriate, except it's like September. Then it can be too much.
September. Okay, yes. Well, we can agree that September is too late for a Happy New Year. But okay. Well, let's kick things off. What's been your highlight of 2024?
So I don't want to sound cliche, but I've loved all of them. I mean, all of them have held something special for me. First, of course, was our first episode that we recorded, which is the Yaba Tech Cluster. It was really amazing. And why it was so amazing for me is because I am I don't know how many kilometers exactly, but Lagos is not too far, essentially. And I didn't know about the rich history of the Yaba Tech Cluster. And so it was just really mind-blowing to me to realize that this is going on in my backyard and it's such an impactful work and so many people's lives have been touched. And then again, we have the affordable housing mini-series. Oh, no, that has been so enjoyable, super complex, yet filled with knowledge. I've had such a great time and I don't want to be gender biased, but of course, my interview with Syntelec CEO Sumida Naik was my favorite. She's so awesome, superwoman, and I appreciate the work that is being done at her organization. And then, of course, I have to say the art and animation episode. I love those as well. They were really amazing and just really fun. I think those were the less technical and more fun episodes that we have had. And maybe regenerative advantage. Yes, that has to be one of my top 5 because I visited the farm itself. And so going over that episode, it was coming to life. And so when we were discussing, it wasn't just random concepts to me. I could really relate. Okay, let me give Richard a chance. What has been your favorite episode? And don't say the welcome episode because that's cheating.
Oh, goodness, Favor. I think maybe you may have missed out 1 or 2 of our episodes that were not your favorites there, but most of them were your favorites. So if you were, my apologies to any of our guests who were in the episodes that were not mentioned by Favor.
I love the Telcot episode as well. No, I love going to Pakistan mentally. That is
Favor. Let me take you back a bit. You started off with the Yaba Tech Cluster episode, and I think one of the things that really stood out for me in that episode was just this journey that they went on. It wasn't like they started with a master plan that they must, develop a tech cluster, the next Silicon Valley, but in Nigeria, the Yabacon Valley. It started off very much of just bringing together like-minded, passionate individuals who were interested in tech. And on the back of this, there was a series of steps that were taken sequentially where they seemed clearly like the obvious steps to Boson Tajani, now Minister of, is it what, information technology? What's the position he has in Nigeria, Favor?
He's the Minister of, I believe, is digital economy. Yes, I think digital economy. Yes.
So when Boson Tajani, now Minister of Digital Economy, set out on his journey, it wasn't like there was a grand master plan. He was taking, the next step, the next logical step to him at the time. And by going with what seemed to, address the constraints that they were facing at the time, suddenly on the back of this, you have this blossoming, thriving ecosystem, tech sector within Lagos. And for me, that was very powerful because it showed this type of flywheel approach that we're trying to promote within flywheel economics. The idea that you're looking at economies as ecosystems, you're trying to nurture, you're trying to remove any barriers, any impediments. And that's exactly what they did. And the dividends of that has been immense for Lagos and for Nigeria more broadly.
Yes, exactly. I think it was so cool because they just set out to solve a problem, and not to get all sentimental, but it's a deep lesson for everyone, for not just for us, but for everyone listening, that sometimes life is about taking those steps that seem unlikely, not doing it for any reason apart from the fact that, oh, there's a problem and we need to solve it, especially because they had the tools, and especially because they had the exact mindset that was needed in that season. And just as you said, it's paid dividends, and it's a legacy that will carry on, if I can just say, forever.
Yeah, and if we think then to our next sort of two-parter episode that we covered, right, which was the Sialkot episode in Pakistan, looking at how basically a group of small and medium enterprises clubbed together to build an airport and enable infrastructure in Sialkot that helped support their exporting businesses. I mean, that's a really inspirational story, just to see what's possible when a community of businesses work together and try and solve some of the problems that they face. And I'm still struggling to find those examples that live up to that example in Sialkot, right? Which business community do you know who finance and build an airport to assist their companies to get their goods to market? It's a very inspiring story. What did you think of that one, Favor?
It just, as you said, for all of us, including our amazing guests that we had on the show, it was a mind scratcher because the question kept coming up. Okay, why Sialkot? Why did it work so well? And it seemed that despite all the factors that we kept bringing up, there seems to be this magic ingredient that nobody could place their hands on. The spirit of the Sialkot people is no doubt has been an advantage to them. The airport is up and running, and it has really ensured that the businesses in Sialkot has taken off. And it's been a common thread, actually, as you will discuss further. It's been a common thread in all our episodes that there is a need for collaboration and community. And for me, the Sialkot episode was just a prime example of that.
Well, good news was that 2 months ago, I met the president of the Sialkot Chamber of Commerce, rather by chance, to be honest. And I'm really hopeful that we can do a bit of a follow-up episode to that, where we try and unpack some of those missing magical ingredients that enabled that to happen. Because I'm sure there's a very good story within there about leadership that was taken by the Sialkot Chamber of Commerce. So lots for us to dig into there, and hopefully we can really bring that story to closure by finding those missing pieces.
Yes, exactly. Look forward to it.
Now, what about arts and animation? What do you think about the animation sector in Nigeria? Is this going to be the next Nollywood?
I really, really hope so. And I think doing that episode brought a lot of deja vu moments for me, because as an art student, I could relate to pretty much everything that our guest had to say, in the sense that when it comes to education, which is a big aspect of whether the industry is going to thrive or not, because that was one of the challenges, the fact that there's a talent gap. So I could relate. being an art student, feeling like, oh, we were second best and everything. So that was a lot of deja vu moments, and also a bigger lesson to be learned, that the animation industry has the potential to become as big as Afro music, or as big as Nollywood, but it just needs the right investment, and it needs it now.
Well, you've just given me a thought. I think we definitely need to look into Afro beats this year, and to look at Nigeria's music industry as well, because I think that will have some interesting insights as an industry that really has gone global.
Looking forward to that. I'm sure our guests will enjoy. Maybe, who knows, we can get Burna Boy or Davido as a guest.
Leave that one to you, Favor, to work your magic.
Okay, never say never.
So, okay, what other episodes did we have? We had the freelancers one, where we looked at freelancers, not just in Nigeria, but other countries as well, like Kenya, Pakistan, and really the quiet role that they're playing in these economies, often under the radar of governments, but generating content that's being sold to the world. Was there anything surprising in there for you? I mean, what did you think about that episode?
Just like you said, it was freelancing is made in Nigeria, exported to the world, but not in the way that you think. Because when we think of exports, what comes to our mind is usually tangible goods. And then seeing these freelancers being on the world stage was really inspiring. As a matter of whether anything stood out or was surprising, not particularly. The freelancers shared challenges that are, if you live in Nigeria, are already well known, in terms of internet or access to stable electricity, or probably the most frustrating for them, being able to access their international payments. But I would say the difference between an average Nigerian experiencing these problems and a freelancer is when this is connected to your source of livelihood, then it becomes a whole, it's not just, oh, we are in this together, it becomes another level. And so, just like for the animation aspect, there's so much potential in this industry, and they are so inspiring with the work they are doing despite the challenges. But there's a call for more. That's just it. That there's still a lot that needs to be done if we want to see this freelancing really scale up and reach the heights that we know that it can get to.
Yeah. Let's talk about affordable housing miniseries. So you spoke a little bit earlier about the work that Syntellect were doing in terms of helping informal workers get access to mortgages. But we also took quite a broader look at the affordable housing sector with Ian Shapiro from Real. And for me, that was a really lovely episode to try and contextualize why exactly it is that affordable housing hasn't taken off to scale, frankly, across most countries in the world, right? It's really struggling, and the barriers that exist within all of that. I mean, was that an episode that resonated with you, Favor?
It really did. I think there's just something about listening to people who are considered experts in their field, because they are able to give you such, not just in-depth knowledge, but an understanding. It's one thing to have like knowledge of what is going on, but when somebody truly has understanding, he was able to now transfer that understanding to us. We're able to see beyond, and I think that was such a good foundational episode for diving fully into our affordable housing mini series. Really opened my eyes to understand the challenges and the opportunities. From there, we were able to explore how AI and machine learning works as well, and other opportunities that exist within the affordable housing sector.
Yeah, it was nice to have it set out as an ecosystem, a supportive ecosystem around affordable housing, and which parts of that ecosystem are working, which parts are not working so well in many countries, and to be able to cross-reference experience from different countries, whether India, Kenya, or wherever. We also had Simon on from the World Bank, Simon Wally, and to talk about affordable housing finance and some of the work the World Bank have been doing across different countries to try and enable finance to flow into the space of affordable housing. And for me, that was just a real wow. I mean, it was such a wonderfully set out, detailed, I said detailed overview, if that's possible, but I would say complete overview of financing for affordable housing. And I think that's really given us, I would think it was a masterclass, to be honest, in terms of what needs to be done, what the current state of affairs is across many countries. And And despite the challenges with, very high interest rates in many countries, there are still things that can be done to try and make it more plausible for people to be able to finance their homes.
I know you may not want to admit it, but that definitely was your favorite episode because, as you said, Simon gave us such an in-depth masterclass into how financing works in the affordable housing sector. And just like I said about Ian, there's something about listening to somebody that's an expert in the field. He didn't just bring the knowledge; he brought a deep understanding. And once again, what I could see was truly the existence of an ecosystem because there's so much commonalities. The advantage that we had with Simon was the fact that he has worked in different countries in Africa and beyond. And so it was really good to see that, there were some issues, just like you said, the interest rate wasn't just peculiar to a country like Nigeria. We have it in different other countries, but he also brought with it a sense of optimism and hope in the sense that, okay, these countries have struggled before, but they are doing better. And so countries that are still behind can have that assurance that there is light at the end of the tunnel if and when they take the right steps.
Yeah, I mean, we've thought of affordable housing as being a mini series, but I think the more episodes we do on affordable housing, the more new episodes we discover where we think there could be potential interest. And I'm looking forward to 2025 where we can explore other topics, whether that's how, things like blockchain can assist in affordable housing, whether that's looking at land titling and access to land and what a barrier that is, and ways in which that can be resolved. There's all sorts of interesting issues we can look at, including building designs as well, and innovative building designs. So it's a mini series, but it's really, I don't know, we're stretching the definition of mini series with this one, I think.
Yes, exactly. It's going to be full-blown Friends 24 episode series.
Yeah, and I'm still a bit jealous of you, Favor, for going to the farm for the regenerative agriculture episode. And I do hope, even if we're not doing another podcast recording on that topic in 2025, I do hope I'm going to be able to go to that farm myself when I next go to Abuja. So looking forward to that. So then we have some remaining ones that we're looking forward to in 2025. And we spoke about a few of them, but we said things like blockchain in affordable housing and land titling. But there's other things as well. So what's in your pipeline, Favor? What are the ones you're hoping to record in 2025?
I think after going and seeing the beauty of regenerative agriculture, what do we think about regenerative tourism? I just feel like that is going to be a solid episode to record. And since we're already talking about blockchain, what do we think about venture capitalism in the economy space? So I think those are some of the episodes that I'm excited about. What about you, Richard?
Yeah, so this is my own biases from the past and the things which I've worked on. But I worked quite closely with the establishment of Nigeria's sovereign wealth fund, the Sovereign Investment Authority, from my time when I worked for DFID. And so I'm really keen to understand the role that sovereign wealth funds can play in the economic ecosystem of countries, particularly those which are very resource dependent, resource reliant, like Nigeria. So really unpacking the role that sovereign wealth funds have to support those ecosystems and make them more resilient. So that will be one I'm looking forward to. I'm just trying to think what other wonderful ones do we have in store. Favor, come on, the more that we've got planned.
Yes, definitely. Just as you said, who knows? So we may have something to do with music as well, and just the ecosystem around that. And we might take a deeper dive into the car industry in countries like Pakistan, Nigeria, what works well and what certainly doesn't. And are we interested in anything related to toothpicks? I'm sure you're wondering, what does toothpick have to do with the economy? Well, time will tell, or should I say, the Flywheel Economics podcast will tell.
Well, okay, so we've got everything from cars through to toothpicks. Yeah, it's going to be quite a busy year for us then. Taking a step back, Favor, when we did our welcome episode, we spoke about the approach that Flywheel Economics was trying to take, looking at economies as ecosystems, and within that, trying to find those flywheel effects that can really help economies to take off, can really help transformation to take place, whether that's in Yaba with the tech cluster, whether that's in Sialkot and the export industry getting their goods to market, and investing in the airport, whether that's in less organized sectors like freelancers and the role that they play. But it's taking those principles and applying them. Now, how far, when we started, we were saying, right, here's an approach, and we want to try and put this approach into practice and to show practical applications of it. Do you think we're any further forward in that from the episodes we've done in 2024?
I really believe that we are. And the episodes and the guests that we have had over the course of these episodes have been a real validation of our principles, because they have been able to affirm all that we said, or at least a huge aspect of what we said during the welcome episode, because we have seen just how one little action or cultivating what is already growing in different ecosystems have seen huge growth, huge impact. Let's take, for instance, the Sialkot episode. We have an understanding that this was a community of business people. They had been business people for years, manufacturing football. And so that was already working. They already had a big industry. And then they asked themselves, okay, how can we take this even bigger? And then within themselves, another key thread that we have been seeing is leadership. Just like you mentioned, we have this the Sialkot Chamber of Commerce, and they were able to take a leadership position. And from there, we see the airport was built, and now Sialkot is responsible for over 70% of the world's football production. That wasn't something that just happened. Oh, they didn't decide to let's build an airport and then let's see where that goes from there. They started with what was working. The same thing with the Yaba Tech cluster. Before they decided to hold the hackathon, before they decided to go into tech, they had done research into the environment and saw that, there were a couple of tech companies that were already beginning to exist within Yaba. And then they asked themselves, okay, how can we capitalize on this? How can we see this grow? And so for me, the episodes have not only been fun, they have been a validation of the Flywheel economics principles.
One of the things that we've tried to do after each episode, and we've started putting up on the website, are case studies which try and go into a bit more depth and a bit more rigor, looking at how the flywheel economic approach can be seen in those different examples. And so if people go to the website at the moment, they'll find the Yaba Tech Cluster case study, which is available for download. And over the coming weeks and months, we'll be adding additional case studies to the website as well. So please, if you're interested in learning more about the application of the flywheel economic principles, please go to our website at flywheeleconomics.com and have a look at some of the publications that we have there. Look, Favor, I'm really excited for the new episodes that we're going to do. And I know we always say we're really excited, but there's such a wonderful year worth of content ahead of us. And I do think even if this is still an emerging area, I do think we've got very rich content. I agree with you completely from the 2024 episodes, and it's just encouraging us to look into more areas. So I think we could go on, but I think we shouldn't. I think we should let people get excited too about our future episodes and leave them wanting more. But thank you very much, Favor, for your enthusiasm, always your support in terms of making these things happen, and look forward to recording many more episodes with you in 2025.
Thank you, Richard. You have been an amazing host, and it's been a privilege co-hosting and drinking from the depth of your knowledge. And yes, to our dear listeners, we are so excited. We are pumped, and we can't wait for you to taste all that we have in store for you in 2025. But until then, don't forget that you can keep up with us by checking us out on all our social media channels. We're on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Flywheel Economics. Also, check out our LinkedIn page. And just as Richard mentioned, our case studies and blog posts are for you to read on our website at flywheeleconomics.com. This has been such a fun first episode, and Really, really excited and looking forward to the whole 2025. Until then, this has been the Flywheel Economics Podcast.